I don't really have an opinion on that. I haven't done my research, so I'm not in a good position to say. I've often found at some points when I'm socializing with people, when I'm meeting new people, that I can get overwhelmed by the conversation or overlooked in the conversation. And I didn't want this to happen. I wanted to contribute. I wanted to be seen as somebody who was socially savvy, intellectual, and otherwise interesting individual. So I wanted to share with you 8 social skills that I constantly use and currently use in social context that help me establish a little bit more presence, a little bit more authority, a little bit more control and power in those particular scenarios. So I wanted to share 8 with you, quick fire round today. So the first one is remembering people's names in conversation. Now, this is a very, very simple one, but often goes overlooked. I always make a point whenever somebody's introducing themselves to remember their name, focus on their name, and try to tie their name to a particular, let's say, characteristic of them. So I always remember that name. And then what I try to do is immediately I would feed their name back to them, saying, oh, it's nice to meet you, Michael. It's nice to meet you, Sarah. It's nice to meet you, XYZ. So I actually ingrain that into my memory, because you often heard this phrase that people aren't good with names. You need to stop telling yourself that, because it's actually going to have an impact on your psychology. As soon as you mention their name in a sentence, you will remember it, and always dropping it in conversation. And it's good to address people by their name, as it actually shows that you care and you're listening and you're actually valuing their name and their personality. And people will make an effort to remember your name also and include you in their conversation moving forward. So remember people's name and always take every opportunity to mention their name wherever possible. Number 2 is speaking from the belly, not from the throat. This is a really interesting one that I tweeted a couple of weeks ago, and it sounded very cryptic. What do you mean, Joseph, speak from your belly, not from your throat? Well, whenever I'm speaking, whenever you're opening your mouth, you need to have an understanding of where that is coming from. A lot of people kind of speak from up here, kind of in the throat, upper chest area, and it's typically because they're mouth breathing. But what you want to do is you want to bring your attention deeper into your body. That's how your voice gets deeper. That's how you're able to exert more authority on the conversation. Is can you bring the tonality of your voice down and speak from your belly, speak from your diaphragm. Try and contract that muscle and actually reach deeper inside of you to bring that sentiment forward from which it proceeds. And you will be amazed at how many people swivel their heads, look at you, and are silent, are waiting and patient for your turn to speak, and are hanging on to every word because you're also speaking slowly, which is another tip coming on, I think. And you're not frantic, your energy's not up here and you're very high energy and you're very heady and you just can't wait to get the words out. No, slow down. Bring your tone down. Speak from your belly, not from your throat. Number 3 is pausing before you answer. Now, this is a really curious one, and I will admit it has some shortcomings if you are in a large social group. But if you're in a group with, let's say, 4, 5, 6 people, and you're asked a question or you're asked to engage in a particular social narrative or conversation, is always pausing and using your body language to evoke or to communicate non-verbally, so with your body language, with your facial expressions, that you're in contemplation.
Oh, you beat us to it.
Did I?
I was trying to nab a filly for my stud.
Sorry?
Thomas Shelby from where?
From Birmingham.
Goodness.
No, not much.
Hey, Carlton. I breed racehorses and train them. What is it you do?
I rarely answer questions. That's what I'll do. Tommy!
So if somebody asks my opinion on something, I often pause and go, I'll use maybe my hand or maybe look up thoughtfully, and I'll take the time to give a considerate answer back. It's not something that I'm regurgitating from somebody else that I've heard. I'm actually pausing, thinking deeply on the subject, and then replying. And also I would add a little tangent onto that is, don't be afraid to say that you don't know or you don't have an opinion on that. I think a crucial mistake 99% of people make is giving an answer on a question or a topic, like a socio-political topic, that they haven't researched or they don't know about because they don't want to come across as being an idiot. I have found I get far more respect and I'm so much more at peace with myself when I say, let's say someone asked me a question on the Russia-Ukraine war at the moment, the latest developments, which I haven't been following. I would simply answer, I don't really have an opinion on that. I haven't done my research, so I'm not in a good position to say. Okay, you're indifferent towards it, and that actually comes from a place of power because you're being very, very open and transparent with people. That, you know, I honestly don't have an opinion on that. I don't have an answer for that because I'm not informed on it, and you don't want to blunder through blindly and put your foot in, you know, places that they're not supposed to be for sake of coming across as somebody who's competent in that subject matter. Never works out for you. Number 4 is leading the conversation, never following the conversation. So this is something that I found was very, very powerful because I always felt like a spectator or passive in some of these social contexts where somebody was bringing up something about a particular issue, a social issue, or perhaps a TV show they liked, or it could be anything, and I was always listening. And I think it's important to listen to people. I think it's also important to paraphrase, which we'll get onto in just a moment. But I found and I saw in myself that I was often taking this passive role and never the active role in the conversation, not what I wanted to speak about or what I thought or how I could convey my values to somebody through some of the things I wanted to speak about. So often what I will do is I will take a subset of information that somebody said about that, and I might be a little bit of a contrarian. I might say, it's interesting you think this way about this particular subject matter. Here is my thoughts on this, and this is the reason why I think so. And I get people involved in why I think the way I think. And can you see the merit in my kind of thought here? Or what are your views on how I think? Or, you know, you want to be an instigator of conversation. You don't want to be passive. You want to show an active role. And this is better going to sit you in the seat of authority, of power, of somebody that's actually got something valuable to contribute to the conversation. And then people are going to come to you in the future for advice, for your point of view, for your perspective, because they can tell you're considerate, you're passionate about this because you're bringing it up in conversation. And this is somewhere where you can make connections with people. Oh, Joseph's talking about this particular issue. He's very, very passionate about this issue. He's done research on this issue. I respect that. I resonate with that. I want to engage him in conversation into the future. And next thing you know, you won't be actively having to put as much effort in conversation. People just naturally come to you for your opinion. Joseph, what do you think about this issue? I know that you talked about this before. I want to get your input. So make sure you're trying to lead the conversation and you're not sitting too much in that passive role. Number 6 is getting people to talk about themselves. So what is really, really funny is people will say, you know, Joseph, I don't know what to talk about in social situations. I don't know what I should bring up. Ask them to talk about themselves. Nowhere in the history of human dialogue has somebody not been passionate about themselves. We're very, very egotistical and selfish creatures, if you haven't noticed by now. And people love, absolutely adore talking about themselves, what their job is, what their interests are, what they're really powerful in actually, what would you say, showing somebody that you're listening or taking value or interest in themselves is by paraphrasing. So I mentioned this on the previous point, but paraphrasing is taking a little bit of what they've said. So it might be, I'm taking an art class after work and I'm really enjoying watercolor paintings and I'm working on a mural at the moment. It's taking that information and then feeding it back to them. Oh, it's really interesting that you're painting that mural after work and you've discovered that you've got an affinity for watercolor paintings. Where did you find that out? Is that something that you looked on online, or maybe you follow an influencer that's in the same kind of niche? What kind of motivate? And then people, you know, they expand on it. Oh, because I was really interested in this particular personality. I really like the way that he talks, and then the conversation just keeps on going from there and there and there. And then people come away from that conversation, and you've maybe said 10% or contributed 10% of the words to that conversation, and they come away thinking, God, Joseph's a really cool bloke. I like him, you know, because they're sensing that you have a genuine interest in them because you're actively listening. And then you might conclude a conversation, you know, talk about the highlighted points and, you know, where that might be going in the future. It's very, very powerful. And the likability factor is so powerful, so powerful. So certainly paraphrasing and getting people to talk about themselves. Number 7 I've got is telling secrets, and this can be either real secrets or fake secrets. And why I like to say this is because it communicates a sense of vulnerability, confidence, and comfort with your audience if you tell them a secret about yourself. It makes you come across very transparent and an open book, which can have its positives and benefits. I still think you should exercise a bit of mystery as well, because you don't want to be too much of an open book. But telling secrets about someone, like kind of pulling somebody to the side and telling them an embarrassing story, for example, conveys a sense of trust, a sense of your flaws, that they're not perfect, and the relatability factor is unmatched, and they see themselves in you because they're not perfect. They have their secrets. They've done things in the past that they're very embarrassed about, and they would be mortified if somebody found out. And the fact that you're being brave and bold enough to confide in somebody that you're flawed is so powerful in creating a connection very quickly. It's almost like an inside joke, but the relatability factor, like I say, is off the charts, and you build very quick connections. So tell secrets, even if they're fake ones. I've told fake secrets about myself before, just to make people feel a little bit more comfortable with me if I see that they're getting embarrassed, or they're a little bit anxious, or they're a little bit maybe socially inept sounds bad, but let's say socially awkward. So telling secrets can be a great way to build rapport, comfort, confidence, and a relationship. Last but not least, I'm going to go with reciprocity. So this is going to be strictly in kind of maybe, of course, social context, but the example I was thinking of in my head is around maybe going to a bar or a club or a pub, is buying people things, okay? And this could be as simple as buying somebody a drink, because it invokes a sense of reciprocity. So let me give you an example. Say we go to the pub, me and you. I've never met you before in your life, but I ask you, what would you like to drink? I'm going to buy you a drink. I go to the bar, I buy you a drink, I give you the drink, there you go. How is that going to affect you and our relationship? First of all, you're thinking, goodness gracious me, this guy doesn't know me, but he's buying me a drink. How kind of him. Of course, how kind. And this might seem fairly self-explanatory, but the other thing that it invokes in that individual is, I'm going to get the next round. I'm going to buy this man a drink as well, because you have a feeling of indebtedness to that individual. And when you invoke a sense of indebtedness to somebody, people are better influenced by your character and your values, your point of view, because they sense they owe you something. So this works very well if you're trying to win somebody over, is because people hate owing somebody something else. I don't know about you gentlemen, but I absolutely despise being in debt to someone. It's just something like that is like a thorn in my side. It doesn't make me feel very comfortable, and I will do anything to try and cross that debt off so we're on equal playing fields. But it's a very interesting trick. Don't be cheap, because it's going to play to your advantage in the social context far later on. So invoke that sense of indebtedness, buy somebody a drink, maybe buy somebody a meal, buy somebody a meal deal with a snack, whatever the case may be, and invoke that sense of indebtedness so you can kind of influence them better and build those social connections and social power far more quickly and far more powerfully. So gentlemen, I hope this was an interesting video. I just wanted to make this a very quick fire. I see this is on 13 minutes now, so maybe it wasn't that quick. Like I say, these things are just theories. Take what is valuable, discard which is not valuable. And if you subscribe to what is valuable, then you can subscribe to me, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Take care, my friends.